Don't walk through other people's campsites. Don't dump your black tanks when your neighbors are having dinner. And let other people unhitch in peace once they arrive. Hey there, it's Kevin with Interstate Explorers, and in today's video, we're going to be talking all about the do's and the don'ts of RV camping. So, let's jump into it. Make sure that you stick around for the end of this video when we talk about our top 5 things not to do when you're camping. We're going to start this video by talking about some of the general park policies that we have read about and observed during our time at multiple RV parks. So the first policy that we're going to talk about is the check-in and check-out policies. We found that in general, most parks will have a 1 p.m. check-in time and an 11 a.m. checkout. Make sure that you are polite and adhere to their check-in and check-out times, and call if you need an early or late check-in or check-out. Moving on to the next policy, which is late check-in. The majority of offices are not open all night, so make sure to let the office know if you plan on arriving late. They will typically have different policies for you if you are arriving late. Next up is communication. During our time RVing, we found that most RV parks prefer phone communication. Even if they have a website and an online system, we found that just picking up the phone and using that works the best. We've also found that to cancel RV parks, you will almost always need to call them. Moving on to cancellation fees. RV parks will typically have cancellation fees, so you need to make sure that you read all about the cancellation fees and policies before booking. These cancellation fees can range anywhere from $10 to the entire first night of your stay. In addition to reading about the cancellation fees, also make sure that you read up about the required notice. Some of the RV parks will require a 48-hour notice, some 72-hour notice, and others might be an entire week during their peak season or during a holiday weekend. On to the next policy, which is quiet hours. Typically, we've seen RV parks will enforce quiet hours from 10 p.m. to 8 a.m. This includes things like screaming at your campsite, loud music at your campsite, and even using your tow vehicle, because those can be loud as well. Our next policy are trash policies. And we've seen that some RV parks will want you to dispose of your trash using the dumpsters, and some other ones will provide trash service and will actually pick up the bags for you if you just leave them outside your campsite. We've also seen RV parks that do a combination of the two. The next common RV park policy that we're going to talk about are speed limits. And we've seen a variety of numbers anywhere from 5 miles an hour to 14 miles an hour. But whatever the speed limit is, just make sure that you drive slow, because there are likely kids playing around and they're probably not paying attention, and your rig is big, heavy, and takes a while to break. So just be careful when you're driving around the park, especially while towing. The next policy is in regards to guests. We've seen some RV parks that don't mind if guests use the RV park with you for the day. And there's other RV parks that will want the guests to register their cars with the office, and they might even want them to pay a fee as well. On the subject of guests, some RV parks will have things in place to prevent non-paying guests from using their amenities. We've seen things like wristbands, gate codes, and parking passes that must be displayed at all times. These policies are there to make sure that only the resort guests are using the amenities. Our next policy is about pets. Now, to be honest, we don't have any pets, so we rarely read these. But what we've observed is that dogs should be leashed at all times and on good behavior. And you should be picking up after your pets. We've seen that some sites even have little dog parks, and at these little dog parks, the dogs can be off-leash. Our next policy is about appearance and condition of your RV. Most parks will have a rule that says that they will not allow any RV that is more than 10 years old. Sometimes they will allow a rig that is over 10 years old if you provide a picture and it is kept up in good condition, but it just kind of depends. Now, in reality, we've seen plenty of old rigs at some of these RV parks. We found that it depends on the availability, the season, and like we mentioned before, how the rig looks. Rigs that are kept in good condition will have a higher likelihood of being accepted after 10 years of use. Additionally, all RVs must be operational and should be able to be moved at any moment should an emergency occur. The next policy is in regards to washing your RV and your vehicles at your campsite. Typically, you are not allowed to wash your RV or tow vehicle at your campsite. Some campsites will allow you to hire an RV detailer to clean your rig. This will, of course, need to be approved by the office and will likely need to happen during a certain time frame, and you might need to use one of their preferred vendors. On to our next policy, which is in regards to alcohol and other substances. What we found is that as long as the substance you are consuming is legal and in appropriate quantities, you can partake at your campsite only. Substances in public areas is typically illegal. And as always, make sure whatever you're doing that you are being safe and not operating a vehicle or other heavy machinery while intoxicated. Our next policy is regarding campsite cleanliness. Generally speaking, campsites should be kept clean. There should be no things like sheds, patios, or other temporary structures on your campsite. There also should not be excessive stuff outside of your RV, which includes things like boxes, piping, bottles, garden tools, mops, ladders, paint cans, clothing lines. Those things are typically not allowed. However, we've seen various enforcements of these policies during our time. And the last policy that we're going to talk about are about sewer and water connections. Sewers should use a tight-fitting connection and should be firmly secured into your RV and into the ground. And your sewer system should not have any leaks at any point in the setup. And the next part of our video is about general campsite layout. Now, when you pull into your spot or back into your spot, your hookups will be on the driver's side, and the passenger side will be your patio and your general space to enjoy. Make sure you position your rig so that you are level and close enough to the hookups. We made a video on rapid campsite setup, and you should check that out for more information. And if you made it to the end of this video, we're going to talk about our top 5 don't do's at any campsite while you are RVing. So our first one is don't walk through other people's campsites. This is generally considered rude and an invasion of their privacy. If you need to walk somewhere in the campsite, walk down the main roads and use those main roads to walk wherever you need to go. If a campsite is vacant, I've heard mixed things about whether you are allowed to walk through that vacant campsite. I tend to avoid it and just walk through the main road so I don't cause any problems whatsoever. Our number 2 item is don't dump your tanks when your neighbors are out. If the family is sitting next to you and they're enjoying their dinner or they're sitting around the fire, they don't want to be smelling your black tanks dumping. Even the tightest fitting sewer lines can still smell, and even if you're dumping your gray tanks, those can smell too. So make sure that you wait until they go back inside to dump your tanks. Our third one is don't talk to your new neighbor when they've pulled in and they are setting things up. If you're sitting outside, resist the urge to talk to your neighbor that has just arrived. Let them focus, let them get set up. This is typically how unhitching problems can happen. It's because you're talking to them, they're not paying attention, and then they skip a step and they make a mistake. Just let them get their stuff all set up, and then you can talk to them. Our number 4 item is don't hang out on the driver's side of your RV. Your side to enjoy your RV and the outdoors is the passenger side, which is your neighbor's driver's side. This also means that your driver's side is your neighbor's side to enjoy. So give them some privacy and let them enjoy their area, and you hang out on the passenger side. And our final don't do is don't have any part of your RV or tow vehicle sticking out into the road. Your RV must be fully in your sight along with your tow vehicle. The roads around the RV parks might be tight, and your truck sticking out into the road may be blocking a large RV from getting through. We've had a few close calls leaving because people were slightly blocking the roads. It's very annoying and uncourteous. So thank you for watching this video. If you found anything of use, consider liking and subscribing. And until next time, keep exploring.